I believe if you truly are following Islam to a T, you are raising your value every single day because you're living a very, very, very pure spiritual life. I was like sitting on the floor in my house, fully furnished, like 3-4 bedroom house. I have a Porsche 911 in the garage. I'm staring at my bank account. I have like 100 grand in my bank account. There's a girl on the couch asleep behind me. And I just remember breaking down, just like crying. And I had to leave the room because I was like, I can't let her see me like that. And I was just sitting in the bathroom, like bawling, crying, and I didn't know why. When I looked at myself in the mirror, I realized like God is not in my life at all. I am completely devoid of God. I am so far distanced from it. Because I even was looking at the Bible. I'm like, I don't even know that what I'm reading is the accurate word of God. To me, this feels just like a bunch of stories that were handpicked and chosen by kings across time to manipulate people, and also with a lot of contradictions throughout the entire thing. Where I went to the mosque nearby, and in the masjid, when I walked in, there was one brother, his name was Imran, and both these brothers sat down with me for like an hour and a half straight as I was asking questions and everything, and I'd never felt more welcomed ever in a religion. I thought that as a white man, I'm not welcome here. As a man with Jewish blood inside of his family, he's not welcome here. And I realized that none of this was accurate at all.
We got to get you in this fold, brother.
I'm a fold, man. Allah Barik.
You ready, Nick?
Let's do it.
Bismillah, repeat after me. Yes, Nick, what's going on, bro?
How are we doing, brother?
Habibi, alhamdulillah. How you keeping, akhi?
Doing really well. How about yourself?
Bro, I thought you were already Muslim. That was my understanding. I didn't realize you're taking the Shahada yet.
I was thinking about it. I'm just going to be completely honest. The reason why I reached out to you, I was going to do it where I was going to have the imam at the mosque nearby me do it with me on January 1st. I'm kind of a sentimental person. And then I talked with, Nabil, right? Nabil Aziz.
Yeah.
Nabil Aziz was like, I wouldn't recommend that. And I said, why? He's like, because you could die tomorrow. I was like,
exactly. I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. And then, I really thought about it. And I was like, well, what's the sentimental part that I have with the imam there? Personally, like when I talked with him, I felt like there was a lot of very blue pill things that he was saying that I didn't agree with at all. And I was like, well, who would I want to do that with? Because I am sentimental. And I was like, one of the main people that brought me towards Islam was Mahdi, and listening to him and realizing that there was a very, very good balance in what I believe a high value man is without having to become a total degenerate in the process as well. And so listening to Mahdi was such a huge inspiration to me to take the leap and to start focusing more on living in this life. So I was like, you know what? I think I'd like to do it with him.
SubhanAllah, it's amazing. Before we do that, Nick, bro, tell us like your journey, like before you came across my content and things like this, because obviously, Nick, by the way, is a very well-to-do gentleman. He's a very successful copywriter, does very, very well for himself. Yeah. And he's accomplished a lot at a very young age, right? So tell us about your journey, Nick.
So I'm 23 years old currently. And I started running businesses when I was really young. Like when I was in high school, I discovered Money Twitter when I was in high school. And so I was on Money Twitter, and there was this guy, his name was Ray. And he was tweeting up all these books always on entrepreneurship. And, I'd always been hustling here and there, selling some stuff here and there. Like I would sell like shoes and stuff at my school. But I really just didn't feel like college made sense. So something felt off. And so I started reading all these books on entrepreneurship. And I realized, whoa, this is a way different lifestyle. And it just felt like such a better path to take. So I never went to college or anything. Like while all my friends were at college partying, I was working in this office, a sales job that my boss would literally let me sleep at the office. I was pulling some Elon Musk stuff where I'm sleep at the office, working like 100-hour weeks, going to like a gym to shower at night and in the morning, and then coming right back and sleeping at the office and getting right back to work. So I grinded for a very, very long time. Eventually discovered the art of copywriting. I switched from sales to copywriting because I'm naturally a writer. And I want to just summarize stuff. I don't want to get to like all the nitty gritty details, but I dedicated like my life to this and got really, really good at it. And to the point where I was making like really good money for my age. I mean, I was like 22 making like consecutive like 30, 50, 60K months, and was just making this stupid money. And, it's just so blatantly obvious to me that it's funny because I watched the movie Malcolm X yesterday, and like, while our stories are very, very different, there were similarities that I saw where it was like you start making money and then corruption sinks in because you don't have a correct guide in life at all. So I had no guide in life. I don't really have the best relationship with my father. My stepfather and I aren't like very close either. So I wasn't able to have someone to like tell me, hey, here's how to operate in life when you do have money, because none of my friends have money at all. And so I started just acting like a total degenerate. I was abusing drugs, I was abusing alcohol, I was not abusing women physically ever, but in terms of my relationships with women, like it was entirely sexual. There was no like intimate connection at all. And I will never forget this moment where I was like sitting on the floor in my house, fully furnished, like 3-4 bedroom house. I have a Porsche 911 in the garage. I'm staring at my bank account. I have like 100 grand in my bank account. There's a girl on the couch asleep behind me, and I was even like smoking reefer at the time. And I just remember breaking down, just like crying, and I had to leave the room because I was like, I can't let her see me like that. And I was just sitting in the bathroom, like just bawling, crying, and I didn't know why. And when I looked at myself in the mirror, I realized like God is not in my life at all. I am completely devoid of God. I am so far distanced from it. And something just hit me that it was saying, go find God, go find God. And so I stopped everything at that point and I went towards Orthodox Christianity because that's what was familiar to me. My family's Eastern European. My mom is from Ukraine. My dad is from Ukraine. So when I walked in there, it felt familiar because a lot of the art around our house was like the art that was on the ceilings. So that's what felt familiar. It was very beautiful, but just something didn't click. And the thing that I couldn't process, I'm like, why? Like Jesus, peace be upon him, was a phenomenal prophet and was very, very smart. And I felt like he had beautiful teachings, but I did not feel like he was the one that needed to be worshiped. Who was he worshiping? He was worshiping God. And when they were saying, you know, oh, well, what was it, that the only way through the Father is through me? That does not mean never does it say worship me. It said that means that I'm a prophet. You're supposed to follow in my footsteps to worship God. And I didn't feel like they were talking about that at all. And this was a very, very, very big flaw. Like that's not a small little whatever, you know, kind of thing. That's a very big flaw. So I think that made me almost like lose faith in faith altogether. Because I even was looking at the Bible. I'm like, I don't even know that what I'm reading is the accurate word of God. To me, this feels just like a bunch of stories that were handpicked and chosen by kings across time to manipulate people, and also with a lot of contradictions throughout the entire thing. So I had another descent back into this degeneracy. And I was like, okay, well, that's not it either. Don't go back to the thing that like caused you to go towards spirituality. And I saw Brother Tate had converted to Islam, and I've been following Tate for a very long time. I thought that he was a very, very smart individual. And it made me genuinely curious. Why did he do that? Like, he's a calculated person. He doesn't do that on accident. And at that point as well, Mahdi stuff started, like everything hit me like a wave right at that point. My YouTube algorithm, everything like just started showing me this stuff. And I saw Mahdi on a podcast with this girl, Pearl or something, and listening to him talk about Islam, I realized, I was like, whoa, there's a lot that I align with here that he's saying in general, and how I think like the dynamic with women should be and everything. Saw the thing with Tate, saw that, and all of a sudden I just decided, you know what, why don't I just read the Quran? I've never read it before. And so I just decided to get it. And that day I remember reading it. I read the first chapter, which was like a page, right? And then I read the second chapter and read through the entire second chapter and was like crying while I was writing it. Cause I'm like, this is what I believe. Like, this is literally what I've been saying since day one. There was one God. This is the God to follow. And that there's no, that these are messengers, these are prophets, but there's only one God to worship. And I was so aligned with it that day. I think like that next hour I went to the mosque nearby, and in the masjid, when I walked in, there was one brother, his name was Imran, who funny enough was the name of Mary's father as well. And so Imran was there, and he was by himself, and I walked in and I just kind of let him finish his prayer. I didn't say anything, and he turned around and started talking with me, and I explained to him my story and everything, and he was just like overwhelmed because like I had like a message that someone's going to come and I have to guide someone. Like, I just had this message. And then another brother, Ahmed, was there as well, and he was not an imam, but he was one of the priests there who was teaching a lot. Not priests, sorry if my terminology is not right, but he was one of the people teaching there quite frequently. And both these brothers sat down with me for like an hour and a half straight as I was asking questions and everything. And I'd never felt more welcomed ever in a religion. I thought that as a white man, I'm not welcome here. As a man with Jewish blood inside of his family, he's not welcome here. And I realized that none of this was accurate at all. I was very, very much so welcome here. And in fact, every single brother that I've met at the mosque, when they talk to me, they're almost inspired at like how I came to Islam. And what they tell me is, several of them have told me, you've like reignited my passion for Islam. I don't remember the exact terminology, but one of my brothers, Yusuf, he mentioned to me that for the man who had always had Islam since birth. It's been a part of his life. Islam is like I think he said a cow or like a cattle. It's just there. It's just part of his life. But to the man who has rediscovered it, it is like a mountain, right? And it's this massive thing. So to me, as I've like gone further and further into the religion, into the practice, praying 5 times a day, reading the Quran daily, really affirming my beliefs, and really looking at and talking with different brothers, I've realized that this is the way in life. Like you have to follow some sort of modus operandum, and I really do think that Islam is the best one that I've found thus far. And so to me, I really am resonating a lot with what you guys say, and I'd love to circle back to some of the topics in terms of like marriage and finding women, and maybe help give like some of the brothers who are staying true to Islam like some reaffirming truths that like you're doing the right thing. Like I've gone to the other side, I've done the stuff that you may be being tempted by, and it's not worth it at all. It's seriously not worth it. But yeah, that's I think a good summary of the story up to date. Yeah.
So Nick, we got to get you in this fold, brother.
I'm a fold, man. Allah Barik.
Mahdi.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Well, let me.
Yeah,
can I comment? Because that was a great story, man. Alhamdulillah. You make a really interesting point, and it's something that I had to come to understanding, because we all we're all human, so we're all susceptible to the things that you actually went through. So being, I always tell people, being Muslim doesn't necessarily guarantee you heaven. It just gets you a court date. You get judged.
I like that.
Other people don't get judged. They just, but being Muslim, you get a court date. You get your day in court, and you get to plead your case. But it's a difference between what you were going through, and especially living in the West. You kind of everybody goes through this, maybe not to the extreme that you went to, but you got to know the difference between chasing happiness and learning how to be content. And what Allah teaches us in the Quran is contentment. And in America always says, be happy, and you start going on this dopamine chase that will always leave you unfulfilled. And the analogy I always tell people is like chasing a high. Well, you're going to take crack, and then you're going to take, cocaine and crack, and you're going to keep chasing this high, and it'll never be fulfilled, versus learning how to embrace sobriety. And what Islam always teaches you is the guidance is being content, so keep that in mind, because these desires are in us for a reason. They're designed to make us better, not to hurt us.
Well, so if I can just put together, sorry, Akhi, if we can just put together, mashallah ta'ala, your beautiful story, Akhi, and what Seth said, and the topic. Ibn al-Qayyim, an incredible scholar, Akhi Nick, inshallah, I can send you a PDF of some of his work. He is called the Doctor of the Hearts. He's an incredible scholar. He said that there is a void in the heart that nothing can fill except from the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can go chasing whatever it is,
so
a woman, women, you can chase accolades, Forbes 30 under 30, whatever it is. Any status, nothing can fill that void. As Richard Dawkins, when he even himself, he talks about this, the God gene, this toxin that we have to get rid of, according to the atheistic beliefs. This inner desire and want to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you felt that, Akhi, and I'm sure you resonate with that quote more than a lot of brothers out there. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah ta'ala, we want you to come into the fold quickly, bro. So inshallah, Mahdi, without further ado, man, bismillah, let's bring on brother.
Of course. You ready, Nick?
Let's do it.
Bismillah, repeat after me. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. I bear witness that there is no God worthy of worship except Allah. And I bear witness that Muhammad is his slave and final messenger. Allahu Akbar. Takbir.
Wow.
Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar. Welcome, Habib.
I'm happy to be here, man. That's crazy. I wanted to circle back maybe to like what I was saying earlier with like what some of the brothers maybe be experiencing, and they see this and they're tempted by it. And maybe I hope that like someone's seen, wow, like someone who had what I'm going for realized no, not it, like, and left. I've always been like, since a very young age, I'd always been very switched on. And I know that this is not talked about inside of Islam. And, you know, it says that you should not take anything that intoxicates you. But since a very young age, and I was like 15, I don't promote this now, but when I was very, very young, I was doing a lot of psychedelics, like a lot of mushrooms to sit and like just think, and I would just ponder like life, like who am I, what is my life. So I think I switched on at a very young age, like for consciousness overall. I think there's a pure path to getting there. I took a rocket ship path basically to get there. And a lot of what I realized when I was on this journey, one was like I was using my money as a way to like almost get people to accept me. Right. I wanted these girls to like, because I'm, oh, well, if I just pull Top G, then, you know, I'm gonna be in this position where all the girls like me and everything like that. And they attract it, but you're attracting the wrong people in your life. I was wondering, why am I always so drained? Why do I always feel so like tired? Why does it always feel like something is pulling at me? And a lot of these people that I feel are not pure spiritually, even if you go and have sex with these girls, you are not going to feel anything but just that sucking of your soul out, because I really do believe that it's not like what I was telling myself, and what I think a lot of people tell themselves is that I'm empowering myself, right? It's women's empowerment and everything like that. It is the furthest thing from empowerment. It is a weakening and diluting of your soul and connection with God, 100%. And you know, I don't remember who it was that said this exactly, but really a lot of the times what you're having to do is get really good at lying or get really good at manipulating someone if you want a girl to sleep with you most of the times. And so I have a lot of these brothers who are doing this, like multiple girlfriends, all this type of stuff. And like, they're not honest at all about it. They're doing all that. And they're teaching young men. This is what I think is just so sad, that like, this is how you raise your value as a man. You sleep with as many women as possible. And I can say for a fact, that is the furthest thing from the truth right there. The way you raise your value as a man is not determined by women. It's determined by other men. So if another man that's a very high value man deems you as high value, then by a natural cause, other women view you as high value as well. So I look at it as like, I want the man who's a billionaire, who has run multiple companies, who's a religious, devout man, who's known in the community as someone who's like just a legend, who's done so much for the community. That man to think that I'm a good man and that I'm a high value man. Because if he thinks I'm a high value man, he doesn't think that this degenerate crap is high value at all. He looks at that and thinks that's so childish, right? And you have so many of these guys who are trying to do like the mini Tate thing that I don't think they can see that yet. I think so much of what allows you to be able to really step into that high value is one, understanding like just basic truths. One, that money is important. I don't care what anyone says, you know, I get it, like, oh, they're not happy, this, that. True, you can get to that point, but money just accelerates everything. So if you're a bad person and you get money, you're going to be an even worse person. But if you're a really good person, money allows you to accelerate the process of hiring coaches, hiring someone like Mahdi, hiring someone like Nasir. I don't know if you guys also, other brothers, do coaching as well. Hiring the right coaches, being able to set yourself up with a personal trainer, like being able to automate a lot of the things you don't want in your life. Like I want to hire someone to do my laundry and do my cleaning and do all that, so I can focus on my business and on my growth and all that. But then also understanding that like the character component is huge on it, and understanding that it's to be kind to others, it's to be loving to others, it's to be understanding and not judging of others. Your physique, like all these things, there's really not that many base truths. But as a young guy who's like on this journey right now, I can say without a doubt that it's just about consistency and focusing on it. And I know with Mahdi said that, you know, if you've been 25 up until now following Islam, I believe if you truly are following Islam to a T, you are raising your value every single day, because you're living a very, very, very pure spiritual life. And that involves all those different areas. So I just wanted to maybe give some reaffirming thoughts to some of the brothers who may be struggling with it, is that like this other path, I'm telling you, as tempting as it is, it sucks your soul dry, and it is just something that you will feel so devoid of God.
So if you like that clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.